Well, then let's start today's seminar session. It's my pleasure to introduce Guilhem Velvé Casquillas from the Microfluidics Innovation Center situated in Paris, who will talk to us about his experience in creating deep tech startups. By now, he has already created 10 different companies.
A good start.
Yeah. A good start, exactly. Guilhem, he's a former physics researcher. He has developed different technologies. And for example, during his PhD thesis, the world's fastest pathogenic detection system. And since then, he has created several different startups, I think mostly related with microfluidics, but he will tell us the details now. So also maybe just to highlight that he also likes to inspire other people about entrepreneurship and especially also helping young scientists to create their company. So yes, welcome, Guilhem. Looking forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mariana, to invite me. So yes, I got the occasion as a former researcher to create some company. Last year, I sold the main one, not because I planned to do it, but because it became bigger. And you will see that you can be a good entrepreneur and a very bad businessman. And I'm a very bad businessman, so I decided to sell because of that. It's too big for me. And so I decided, I have a lot more time now. So I decided to try to share things I learned. Of course, in 1 hour, I cannot share everything, but I don't know which one of you will come to the lunch after or to the different meeting Mariana organized, but we can discuss in details if you have a company inception idea or if you are already running a company, because it's more relevant when we have all operational details with good advice. So today I will give you advice. And unfortunately, my first advice is don't trust of people giving you advice in entrepreneurship. And there is a reason for that is, let's say that when you create company, when you have the chance to succeed in a way in entrepreneurship, what happens often is that you have the impression that you discover the truth, that you have a method, it will work for everybody, for everyone. Even me, after a bottle of wine, I get this impression to have this truth in me. And the fact is, in entrepreneurship, it's not like physics. You cannot mess with physics law, meaning that if you are around a cliff and you jump, you will fall, you will hit the ground, and you will die. In entrepreneurship, of course, it's important to know the basic rules, but sometimes you break them badly and you success like crazy. So in a way, the idea behind that is, yes, of course, you need to learn the basic rule of entrepreneurship, that what works and don't works. But then you have to adapt them to your exact reality at the exact moment. And after, you need to innovate on them. If not, you will be an average entrepreneur. And since 90% of the innovative companies go to bankruptcy, in average, entrepreneurs fail. So don't be an average entrepreneur. And you will notice that here, on my slide, you will find a little quote. Here is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult. I put this quote for two reasons. The first is that I know that I speak English like a French cow. So if you don't understand me, then you can meditate on the little quote. At least you will not lose your time. And the second reason is that I look at the Inception movies, with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I try subliminally to enter your mind with this kind of quote and to create an army of entrepreneurs. So I give my point on that, so you will find little quote all the time. So, as I told you, the rule number one, unfortunately, is that there is no rules. Anyway, with what you can learn in presentation like that, or if you take entrepreneurship lesson, is the basic things on which you will build the foundation of your castle, meaning that I don't know how to pronounce it in English. But then after, by adapting those rules, you will build brick by brick your castle, your company. And that's the important things. And I got plenty of entrepreneurship lesson during my PhD because I wanted to create my company. So I tried to take lesson on that. And most of my lessons were relevant. They give me very good advice. But I noticed that when I create my company, I decide that no, I don't care. I don't care. I will do my way. And in fact, I took so much role in the end. Like, in fact, when I decided at the beginning to break all the rules, it didn't work. But since I got all those entrepreneurship lessons, I done the mistake only one time, meaning after I told myself, someone told me to not do that. So you will do mistake if you take entrepreneurship lesson because you will not listen me or the other, but maybe you will do mistake only one time. And so maybe your company will stay alive. So the most important things to keep in mind, and that is why there is so much entrepreneurs that succeed without even going to school or to high school or things like that, is that we don't learn the right things at school to do entrepreneurship. Really, like most of you, I presume here, particularly have MBA, master, PhD. It's hard to get them because I done this way too. So congratulations, by the way. So, you suffer hard for that. But unfortunately, to succeed in a startup inception or innovative company inception, everything you learn to succeed at school, the behavior, you will need most of them to forget it. And of course, I presume you will be agree that professor, most of the time, don't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. In fact, most of them didn't even work in a private company, and even less run as a CEO a startup company in the 5 years before. It's very rare. And I will give an example of that about the school system. The very basics of the school system is the exam. So at the end of the semester, you have a one shot where you will pass your exam. And only one shot, even if you pass it 2 times, it will not be exactly the same topics. So what are you doing at school? What are you trained to do? Is you prepare during the whole semester to the one-shot final exam. But in entrepreneurship, the exam is the market, meaning that, and the semester, the length of the semester is how many time you will get with money on the bank account of your company. So it's at the time of the semester. If you do like you will do at school, you will prepare, you will do research and development, things like that. And on the last day, when you will run out of money, you will contact the market and try to sell your product. And we will discover after why normally at this moment, you take a wall, the customer don't want to buy your product, and you go to bankruptcy. And let's understand that if at school, the teacher told you, okay, this semester you will pass an exam, but you can pass it every day during the semester. You will not prepare during all the semester to pass it at the end. You will pass it on the first day, discover the topics, then try again the second day with the same topics, try again the third day with the same topics. And I don't know if you understand me, but it sounds absolutely obvious when I say it, that of course you will not wait the whole semester to pass the exam. And the same in entrepreneurship. Most of the time, what people do, particularly when they have a good PhD or master degree, is that before they really contact the market, they have an idea, they develop a product during months and months, and at the end they contact the market, like they do with exam, and they fail. So we will see later how we can do to not do that. And it's very important, because even me who know it, naturally, each time I have to run a company, to create a new product, I do the same mistake. And I have to say, no, let's contact the market now, not wait during 2 months. And we will see that. So face the reality as quickly as possible. So as I said, there is 90% of the companies that go to bankruptcy in innovative company. And there is still 2 schools of thought that remain. And one, to my point of view, will completely disappear, by the way. It's already disappeared in the Silicon Valley. No one do anymore the old school one. The old school one is the one everybody knows, that you have some money, because maybe mom is rich, I don't know, or dad. You have an idea, hopefully coming from the market and not from your mind. I try with my associates, say, oh, we have a wonderful idea. Let's try to develop one thing. We've done it, I think, half a dozen of times. Each time we took a wall. Each time we succeed a company, it was coming from an idea given by a customer. All the time. All our genius ideas were in fact bullshit ideas. But anyway, and that's the case of all the entrepreneurs around me, by the way, so I felt less alone. So you have plenty of money, you have an idea, you're doing a market study, generally hiring a firm to do that, like a market study firm. Then you start the research and development to develop the perfect product. You apply for patents to be very secure. You feel good like that, and then you try to sell. In fact, to succeed a company like that nowadays, meaning using the normal way. I have an idea, I do my research and development, and I patent, and I try to sell at the end. To succeed, you need to be a magician. First, you need money. And let's be clear, no investor will give you €1 if you propose something like that, because you have to prove that someone, to an investor, that someone will buy your product. They don't care how much you believe in your product, that all entrepreneurs believe in their product like hell, but most of them still go to bankruptcy. So it's almost impossible to do a fundraise with this method. And from what I know, 99% of the time, when you're doing that, when at the end you try to sell, the product don't fit the market need. You don't have what we call a product market fit. So generally, you go, if you are a startup, you go directly to bankruptcy. So fail, but fail fast, at least. So the other way, more Silicon Valley, more now in Europe, in the last 5 years, people really start to do that too. Better later than never, is what I call the new school. So you have an idea, of course, coming from the market, meaning that if you want to buy things to chemists, before starting anything, you go to a conference of chemists with a little notepad, and you ask everybody in the conference, okay, where is your pain? What makes you suffer? What will be the perfect things that you will need to succeed your research, for example, if it is a chemistry researcher. And then you're doing a list. And when you have one of those things on your list, say, hey, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. Ideally, you pick the easier one, because even when it seems easy, it's hard. Anyway, you have an idea. Then you go to your R&D team and you tell them nothing, really nothing, because at this point, normally, you should not get a R&D team. When you have an idea, you're putting whatever, it could be a web page, it can be a flyer at a conference, where you fake to have a product, meaning you do a web page where there is this product you have in your mind, it do not exist, but on the web page it exists. And as you will see, nobody will contact you, because in fact, your product is not interesting for people. Happily, you didn't develop it. So you will iterate, okay, I will change this competitive advantage. It will be more fast, more slow, I don't know. You change the competitive advantage until at one point, you have another customer who try to buy your product for real, not interested by hearing about, who really try to tell you, okay, I need to sign, sell me your product. At this moment, of course, you find an excuse like, I need a reindustrialization, but you will be the first on my list. No problem, because the most important is that you found a product market fit. And for entrepreneur, it's absolutely basic. You need a product market fit. And at this moment, you come to your R&D team and you tell them nothing. You don't start the R&D now because you have a product market fit. But what you need is not a product, is a minimum viable product. So imagine your product is a drone that goes far and fast. And people are okay to buy it. So you're happy, you have product market fit. You do a web page with a drone that go only far or only fast. And you try to find the minimum product that your customer will buy, the easier to develop for you. And when you have your minimum viable product, we are happy, we are researcher. Then we can go to the research and development team and say, okay, we need to develop this minimum viable product. And that's something important, not a product market fit, the minimum viable product market fit. So the easier things to develop. And then you're doing a very research and development because, in fact, it's a minimum viable product. So you design it as easy as possible. And then you try to sell. And you will see, since in fact, people try to buy it on the web page, you will get the product market fit. So in this case, you will sell your product. It costs you 10 times less time, 10 times less money to have a result where people buy your product. And it's something important. And it's thanks to the web and a lot of different methods that we can do that since 15 years. Because people do that since 15 years, which is a good start, at least in US. And once you have that, then you have money. You have a team that can deliver because they learn how to develop a product, how to sell it. So you have money, you have a team that can deliver, and you are direct information from your market segment. Because even if people buy your product, they will tell you, oh, and I will like that. And then you pick what you need. And then now you have the time to do long research and development, to have very complex products that will bring you a lot more money and a lot more impact. But at this moment, with the right team, a team that can deliver, the right information, because you already sell to this market segment, and at this moment, you can patent. Because when we have an idea, we say, oh, I will patent my very fast pressure controller, in my case. So you have a patent on that. But when you sell your product, you notice that people don't buy your product because it is fast. Maybe it will be the interconnection between the tubing and the pressure controller. And you don't care to have a patent that protects something which is not your competitive advantage. And your real competitive advantage, you know them after you know what the market needs. So each time I try to apply for patent here, what happens? I have a strong patent. I'm proud of myself. Everybody say, oh, yes, super well protected. And then we sell the product. But you will see after months and years, the product will change to fit the market. And your patent, most of the time, will not anymore protect what is really important for your customer. So let's be clear, if you need money from the government, apply for a patent here at the beginning, just because most of the people who will judge you is old school. Meaning in administration, they are all like that, and they have all the power, all the money. So as an entrepreneur, you need to align interests and say, okay, they want a patent, I will put a patent. But you know that 90% of the time, this patent will be put to the trash. But maybe you need money or support at this moment. So you accept to play a game, which is a nonsense from entrepreneurial point of view, just to succeed in entrepreneurial. So it's important that you create synergy with the whole world. They have the power, they have the money, and at the beginning, you have just energy. ID, not ID, from the market. Anyway. So thinking like that, in fact, me, when I create company, and most of entrepreneurs around me, in fact, all of them, we always create them because we have a long-term dream, something that excites us. Because you will see when you will be CEO of your company, the daily life is super intense. You can ask Julia just here, still working during the presentation because it's never stop. You have no life. Anyway, so you need a dream. You need something long-term to think about. It's very important. But once that is said, these long-term things, you need to forget it on a daily basis. And that is why I say each time I have a long-term thinking, I think about my favorite American 21st century philosopher. I have one, Mike Tyson. I think about him because you have a quote I like it is, Everybody has a plan when entering the ring. Your dream, your perfect product, these things. Until he get my punch in the face. And that's exactly what happens in entrepreneurship. The market is the ring. So for example, you have during your PhD, you say, during 3 years, I will develop the perfect product. And you spend all your PhD on that. And then at the end of the PhD, on the pressure of your PI, you try to sell it. And then you jump on the ring. And then in front of you, you have Mike Tyson. And believe me, it will be a big punch because the market will tell you, I don't care of your product. I don't care of it. So it's a big punch. Why? Because you just lost 3 years of your life. And that is why I always recommend, say, no, you have an idea during your PhD, go to a conference if you are doing scientific instrumentation, or if you are doing medical device, go to a medical conference. Anyway, find your market, discuss with them, jump on the ring on the very first day. And then Mike Tyson will give you a punch, but it will be a softer one because you only lost 1 day. And so you try again, you try again, you try again. So never forget Mike Tyson. And maybe after 3 years, because you were on the market every day, you will beat Mike Tyson. So it's nice because he's not a nice guy. It here. This one will be too long in English, impossible, nobody will understand, so we will pass. Super limited in English. It's like that. I will tell you some very basics about the 2 kinds of company in average you can create. And we will see, in fact, you have no choice depending of your business model. But there is what we call the self-finance company, where you bootstrap, when you do with your own money, you are in PhD, you have your salary, you say, okay, I need to develop something that I will sell right now, and then I will make money, and with this money, I will do something more complex, self-finance company. So mainly me, for example, I hate to get investors. So each time I'm a CEO of a company, I never do the second one with fundraise and investor. So I do the bootstrap way, meaning like, let's try by yourself. And when we have money, then we have fun to do crazy research and development because I love that. In fact, I was a researcher. So self-funded company. So you ask money to nobody. You have complete freedom. So you can lose and fail the way you want. Nobody will tell you not to do it because you are the only one who put money in the company with your salary. Of course, it's dangerous, meaning each time you will do a mistake, maybe your company will go to bankruptcy. That's the problem. But still, particularly in research, we have tricks. So you need to find a lot of tricks like the main tricks is go to your laboratory director and say, okay, I will do my PhD and postdoc, but I will create my company at the same time. I will still publish. And at the end, I will give you, if I succeed, 10% of the company. We have a deal. So you have 3 years to do your research activity, create a company, meaning you have a deal with your university. So generally, for self-finance company, you need tricks. Because you have normally, except for me at least, and around me, nobody has the money to run a company. You need to find a way to get a salary. And generally, it's a deal with the university. The thing that even if you succeed here, to avoid all the danger, to become profitable, to have a good product market fit, still keep in mind that you will be limited in your growth. And there is a reason for that called the working capital. The working capital is very easy. Generally in a company, before you get the money from the customer, you have to invest in marketing, in sales, to buy the materials, to build the things, to pay the guy who's doing the administration. And 4 months later, the customer will pay you because most of the time they don't pay you immediately. It's 1 month, 2 months. So generally, there is a time between the moment where you need to invest, at least to buy the materials, or to print the flyer to be known, and the moment the customer gives you the money. It's called the working capital. And that is why, in some extent, normally a self-finance company cannot do more than double the turnover every year, except at the beginning where the turnover is almost nothing. So you have to take that into account. You cannot do an exponential with a self-finance company because of the working capital, except in some very scalable field which are not your field, which is software or also grande distribution, supermarket, it works. But because they have a negative working capital. Anyway, the second big type of company is fundraising company. So you know them, it's Google, Facebook, all the very big success story where you have $1 billion company in 10 years. They are all fundraising company. Meaning, in short, you convince some investor, we call them venture capitalists, because there is a capitalist of the adventure. You will see they are not summer adventurers. Anyway, they give you some millions because they believe in your project, in your market traction, things like that. Generally, it comes with a lot of constraints. We will see them later. But in this case, by the way, you have virtually unlimited growth because the financial system is done like that, where if you have a big market traction and you need 1 billion euro to get it, they know that they will get 2 billion euro after. So when you fundraise, if you are successful, you will always find more millions or tens of millions to pay for the working capital. Always. That is a good problem for the investor. So you have virtually unlimited growth. That is why if you look right now, I think the 10 bigger companies in the world, they are all born in the last 50 years. And 50 years for billions-dollar company is super short. Before, if you look 15 years ago, all the biggest companies of the world were very old-time oil company, chemistry company. They took 200 years to build them or 100 years. Nowadays, you can get companies which are valued like 10 billion, 100 billion after even some years. It's because of that. They can always find new investors if they have market traction. Anyway, maybe you will not do that. Anyway, to choose between that and that is not really a choice. There is some business where, for example, if you're going in a super competitive with a high bid market, you have no choice. You have to do that. We will understand later why, but you're dead if you go with a self-finance company. If you go on a small market at the beginning, you have no choice. You have to do that because they will never give you millions. If you play on a market of 10 million a year, they will never give you 2 million to play. At least you have to do this kind of fundraising company. You have to be on market of 100 million a year minimum. And they prefer billions, like EIC, by the way. So they have the same way of thinking as EIC. It's also life choice, meaning that if you want to do whatever you want with your company during 40 years, you have no choice. It's self-finance company because the fundraiser will sell your company at one point and they will not ask you your point of view. And also be sure that you are aligned with your associate, because one of the main causes of innovative company bankruptcy, the cause number one, strangely, is the clash between associates. So generally it happens on the first years, so it's not a problem, fail but fail fast. But sometimes it happens when the company rise like that, and one associate wants to do a jackpot, and the other, like me, for example, want to keep the company during years and years and years. And you are that to the success, and then you clash with your associate because you want to fundraise and you don't want. And a lot of companies don't survive that. So at the very beginning, discuss with your associate, why are you creating this company together? Are you doing it for money, to make your dream true, for your kids? But be clear about that because there's plenty of problem with that. So I go fast because I have only 1 hour. I can speak during 10 days about entrepreneurship. Woo! Alors, self-funded startup. Please your first company, create it on a market where you could be a customer. For example, the first company I create, with which I create all the other company with the money I make, it was a company developing and selling microfluidic flow control instrument. Why? Because I was a researcher in microfluidic flow control. So I deeply understood in details what a microfluidic researcher will need. So it was super easy to develop the minimum viable product because I could develop it for me. So really it helps a lot if you create your first company in a field where you are a customer, really a customer. For example, if you want to, you are in Angola, you are Spanish, and you want to open a restaurant. You notice that there is a lot of Spanish in Angola and a lot of French. Do not open a French restaurant. Open a tapas restaurant because you know that the Spanish will like the tapas like that, these kind of things. And it's very important. So if you have the choice between two markets, even if it is a smaller one, choose a market where you have been a customer at one point of your life, if possibly recently. Also, on the market, try to find what we call a synergetic niche market for self-funded startup. Huh? It's not for a fundraising startup, meaning when you ask million to investor. Here you do it with your muscle. What is a niche market? Is a sub-segment of your market where you can address quickly the people. Smaller number of people, but you know them perfectly. They are absolutely homogeneous. You have an easy way to contact them. It's a little sub-market. Why are you doing that? But because it's easier to reach a small, very focused market with only way. Because you will get information on the market, because generally the niche market will give you also information on the bigger market. You can win money and train your team. I will give you an example one time. Drone. I like drone. I don't have drone, but I like example with drone. Imagine your business is to create a new drone for geek because they can send it to space. I don't know anything. You identify that you want to develop a wonderful drone for geek. At the beginning, don't develop a drone for geek. Develop a remote control for drone for geek because it will be a lot easier. Then you will sell your remote control, so only one part to the geek. Then you will win money because you will need it, you will see the money to do your research and development. And selling them remote control on this niche market, you will understand how your geek guys want his drone. And in fact, maybe he didn't want him to go to space, but to be able to cross the ocean, I have no idea. But the niche market will give you this kind of information. Develop and sell the remote control, not the full system. Because anyway, you will be dead before you are able to develop the full system and commercialize it. Do you understand me when I speak English anyway? Bravo! Je suis fier de moi. Je m'améliore, Julia. So anyway, it's always good. Take care on big market. Alors, self-funded company don't go on a big market. Why? Because imagine, by any luck, you found the product market fit. You have no money at all. What will happen? A big player on this market with millions of euros, one day you will notice some customer buys the stuff of this guy. They will invest millions of euros. 1 year after, you're dead. Because you cannot compete against the marketing force of big player when you're a self-funded company. So take care if you go to market like a 1 billion euro market. You will get companies that you cannot compete with. And yes, maybe you will find a product market fit. And they will be very happy once you find it to invest 10 times, 100 times more money on you and then just to kill you and benefit from your experience. So do segmentation, find a niche market. Really, it's important to my point of view. With a self-funded company too, The good thing is what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, really. Meaning, generally, small company, the information stay inside, so you learn from every mistake. The problem is that almost everything, every mistake will kill you. And that's the problem. That is why you need to iterate very fast, that to do very little mistake on little product, on little thing, because everything will kill you. For example, if your product is bad fitted, for example, if you use the old school way, the wrong way, anyway, marketing mistake, typically patent negotiation with a university. Wow. So you have a startup like that, and imagine you need a patent to be able to sell your product. But you think on a daily basis or weekly, monthly eventually. The university think yearly. So sometimes they have the impression to be super fast. But before you sign the contract, your company is dead. So all these little mistakes, and there is a list like that. Huh? So will kill you. So take care, particularly also grant delay, meaning that you plan to get a public grant and it arrives 6 months after, and sometimes you already fire everybody because you cannot pay them anymore. So you have to be to take care with this kind of startup. Me, I run only startup like that most of the time. So I like to take care. And what will probably happen to you is me, for example, my first company, I think I run out of money something like 10 times in the first 5 years. So each time you lose almost everybody. You have to fire them because you're sorry, next month nobody. And so it's hard. So generally you lose people regularly until you find a very, very strong business model. But the one who remain, in fact, they are warrior, meaning they face so much storm with you and they survive. The 10 people you will get when you will be profitable, those 10 people will beat everybody. You have a team of warrior. And it's very important. It's so hard, this kind of company, that the one who will stay with you during the 10 storms they will get on the first 5 years, you have the Spartiate in the 300 movie, like, so it's wonderful. And particularly me, I like small company because I like to work with people like that. It's incredible. And of course, as I said, you will get working capital problem, meaning don't plan to do more than 2 times your turnover every year, particularly after 1 million a year, because you will get working capital problem. And the last thing is that you are free to choose the strategy. Each time you have a crazy idea, I have plenty, me all the time, you can do it the day after. And it's wonderful that you ask nobody. Say you can change everything when you want. And it's priceless. And bam, we arrive to fundraising-based startup. So as I said here, you will ask generally some millions to some venture capitalists. We will see after. It's not exactly like that. So remember, you have to be on big market, more than 100 million euros a year, ideally. Be aware that investors don't care you have done Harvard, Stanford, or ICMAB, or I don't know, here. What they care is the thing you have done from an entrepreneurial point of view. It's better to tell them, okay, in the last 3 months, I check with the market, they give me a list like that of things to develop. I develop it in 3 months, I try to sell it, and look, I have 10 demands. Okay, for investors, that is a curriculum vitae, because it shows them, okay, you understood which skills you need to succeed a startup, meaning be able to find a product market fit. So don't do the mistake to just put a pile of good curriculum vitae. Show things that you've done from entrepreneurial point of view. Ideally, a new school one, not just kill you. Don't dream. It's very hard to obtain those millions. In fact, we get the impression that it is easy when we look at Silicon Valley. And even there, it's not easy, really not. And be clear that in Europe, it's even harder, but like 10 times harder. So it's not easy to get this money for fundraise. And if you have no demonstrated product market fit with what we call market traction, meaning that you can prove to them that everybody wants your product, your job to prove to them, but there is method for that. Your chance to do a real fundraise with venture capitalists is very low, particularly in Europe. But once you've done it, you have unlimited growth, meaning if you have a lot of market traction, they can put always more million in your company. It's not a problem. And almost nothing can kill you, you do mistake. That's not important because you have money. And so you can do it again. You have less freedom in the choice of the strategy. In fact, when you're doing a fundraise, the only situation where you choose a strategy is when it is the same strategy than your investor. So meaning that you are absolutely not free to choose a strategy. But try to find an investor really not only money, but compatible with you. So typically in terms of skills, generally they bring you a network, but they need to bring you a network on your market. If you're doing medical device, the fact that it could be a former customer on your market is nice. If he was a professor in a hospital, it's a nice thing. But the investor needs to bring you very useful skills. You need to use him or her. More important, when you discuss with the investor, you need to turn your good idea into very good idea. If you notice when you discuss with him or her that even with your very good idea or good idea, you suffer to make him or her understand, you are with the wrong person. Each time you will need to take a decision, you will need to downgrade your idea to make it understandable. And you don't want an associate like that. You want an associate is someone when you arrive with a good idea, it turns it into a very good idea. And that you can select it very, very quickly. And I got an experience like that. For one of my companies, my associate asked me to come to a group of investors. So I got in a room like that, 100 investors in front of me. And still, it was nice. I came. And so I done my pitch. And I got my first question. And it was absolutely irrelevant question. And it was a group of investors, they were investing all together. So I just tell them, okay, you didn't understood what we do. And for me, it's important to work with the right people. So I will not answer the question, wrong question, we lose time. So please ask me relevant question. And the second question was almost the same. I just put my microphone and I left the scene. Because dare to refuse the money when it don't come from the right sources. If you feel that your investors are dumb in your field, run. Believe me, run. Because I have some of my company I treat the CEO done fundraise. And sometimes they have a wonderful company. And their life is a nightmare because their investors understand nothing to what they do. And so each time they need to take a decision, they need to downgrade the decision to be able to make it enter the head of the investor. So choose them well. Paf. Anyway, which type of investor have we? You have the love money. Generally, it's your cousins that give you 2,000 euros to help at the beginning because normally, like me, at the beginning, you have no money. So you find someone who like you who is ready to lose 1,000 euro, 2,000 euro. Generally, it's money they are ready to lose. And it could be problematic after. If you succeed and this 2,000 euro that your cousin was able to lose worth 1 million euro, you will see that at this moment, your cousin will not want you to lose 1 million euro. And because, yes, you turn the initial investment into a big amount. And this 1 million, you say, oh, but in fact, I could buy a house. And you, unfortunately, as a CEO, you will be probably still full risk. I don't care. It's not a problem if we lose 1 million. And you will see you will get a problem with your cousin. Not at the beginning, not if you go to bankruptcy, but if you succeed too much. And then this little investment start to become the biggest amount of money you never get. You will see when your cousin will realize that no, he cannot take the money when he wants, that you will continue to play with it, full risk. You will get tension. Anyway, you don't care. Take the love money if you want. Me, I didn't. Generally, after you have business angel. Business angel, generally it's people like me, for example, people who have money, and they say, oh, I don't want to be CEO because it's super hard, but I want to get the little things to do entrepreneurship. So they regroup and they invest in a young company. Generally, the ticket is 100K to 500K. Generally, for a reason I don't understand, the valuation of the company is always 1 million euros. So generally, they take you 20, 30% to come with 300K. Generally, it's at the very beginning when you have almost nothing except your ability to convince. They bet on the people. So it's very dangerous investment. That is why it's small ticket at the moment, like some hundred of kilo euro. What we really call investor is capital investor, the venture capitalist. Capital risk, capital development. Capital risk, generally, they put between 1 million and 5 million, but normally they want you to get a demonstrated product market fit. And ideally that someone already tried to use your real product, not a web page. The business angel, it's okay with the web page. Then they give you the money to reach here where you have developed the product. And then you can get between 1 and 5 million for the capital risk. And after capital development, you can get, it's a little bit higher, between 10 and 50 millions. So it's when you need money to scale up, meaning that you already sell and you need to scale up. At the end, it's the stock exchange, is the IPO, initial public offering, is when you fundraise, normally at the end, the success is to enter in a stock exchange market. Is at this moment that everybody do a big jackpot. We call it IPO, initial public offering. Paf. So, just to enter the mind of the investor, to understand them, because they are not devils. They just have different goals on you. You want to tweet things, to have impact, to have fun with your friend, or things like that. Us, no. Us, they do not invest their money. They invest money of other people. And they have 7 years, generally, to give them back money. So they need to sell company, or at least their share in your company, after 5, 7 years. It's very important to get it in mind that they don't play with their money. They are not business angels. So they need to give back the money to their investor. The second thing is they don't valorize your company at the present moment. They valorize the future value of the company. And so, since most of the time entrepreneurs bullshit them, so they will put provisions, the clause, like ratchet, like, if you don't do your normally I have 20% of the company, but if you don't do your business plan, I will get 80% of the company. So, because they bet on the future value of the company, if you don't do your business plan as you project in the PowerPoint, you will get ratchet, meaning that you will lose share, they will win share. So, generally, you are limited in your power, of course. You cannot hire all your friends, pay them millions. You will get power limitation. You will get a clause, like a provision that says that if they want to sell your company, even if you don't want, they will sell your company. Be aware, because they enter your company to be able to leave it. As they don't want the CEO to say, no, I don't want to sell. People like me, for example, they hate that. The people who don't like to sell their company. So you have provisions where you sign that if they want to sell your company, you will sell it, either you like it or not. And generally, there is a preferential liquidity. Take care of that. It's a nightmare. Meaning, they put 10 millions, imagine, or 20 millions. And you have 10% still of the company, you are happy. And they could get a preferential liquidity, meaning that when I will sell the company in 5 years, the first 50 millions is for me. And after, if it is higher, there is also money for you. It's what we call preferential liquidity. They want to be sure to get their return on investment. And I know someone around me in Paris that he got something like 10% of the company. He sold it 80 million of euro, which is good. And he got 0. Because his preferential liquidity, the value was 85. And so just to make you understand that with this kind of clause, preferential liquidity, and they will try to put it, and you should refuse in some extent, at least not with big amount, you can do a successful company where you save life, you're doing a sustainable business, because when you sell your company 80 millions, it means that you succeed, huh? And get 0 at the end. So take care. Anyway, and don't forget that I have time still, because me, I speak. Oh, no. We don't care about the exit. This will be too long, and I will select things I can do. Yes, just with your associate, please avoid company inception 50-50. There is no boss. No. Discussion should be collegial, but decision should be dictatorial. Meaning that you will face so much storm that if in the middle of a storm is not clear who decide, you're dead. Meaning because entrepreneurship is really, it's surfing wave. And wave can be an opportunity. Bigger is the wave, bigger is the opportunity, so you surf it. Or either, like your competitor, you take it on the head, okay? And you don't want, when you surf a tsunami, to be two to control the board. In fact, you have no chance. So always remember that whatever you dream, you will get tension. You will need to take fast decisions, particularly on the biggest wave, which can be the biggest opportunity, but also which can kill you. And on those moments, you need only one leader. Whatever it is, you or not, you don't care, but you need one leader. I could speak during 15 minutes about what is a good leader, but in some way, not necessarily, but there is some characteristic around that, but don't do 50-50. At least, super big advice. C'est tac, let's go fast. Yes, that I will speak about. And at one point, Mariana, if you want me to stop speaking, you throw me something. It's very important when you create a company that you can try to do a monopoly. A monopoly is when you have no competitor. And so, for the entrepreneur, it's wonderful. Huh? The price is your price. So it's wonderful. For a society, it's terrible. That is why there is antitrust law. But still, we are allowed to do monopoly with patents. Patents give you a monopoly on a way to do something. So if you really solve a problem for the customer, you will get a monopoly. Only you will be able to use this method. That is why patent is important, because it gives you monopoly, and monopoly gives you the ability to do high pricing. I will not speak about the blue ocean strategy, but it's wonderful. Another way to create a monopoly is to change the marketing paradigm. See, I will still speak about. No. Oligopoly and perfect competition. You want to avoid that. You don't want that. Perfect competition, meaning having plenty of a competitor, is a nightmare, because from an economical point of view, I will not do a macroeconomic lesson here, but it's not a theory, it's a fact. You have always a price war, and you arrive what we call at the zero accountant profit, meaning you still have profit, but minimum as a newcomer, you die. So you never go here. You try to create a small monopoly on a niche market. Can be with patent, can be just at the beginning, because nobody cares of your niche market. Most of the time, it's easier. And about the pricing, very important. The pricing is very important. You do not calculate your pricing. It's not, it's my production cost multiplied by 2. Wrong way. In entrepreneurship, the pricing is the maximum price one client can afford to pay. That is why we're doing segmentation for the same product. If this guy can pay 1,000 and this guy will pay 100, and that I have margin on both, this guy, I will find marketing way, whatever the way, to make him pay 1,000 and make him pay 100. That is why, for example, when Microsoft Office say, hey, 90% discount for a student is not philanthropy. It's just they know that you and me, we can pay 200 euros for Office, but a student only 20. So for you, it would be 200 euros. And for the student, Microsoft, if a philanthrop, you have 90% discount. No, it's market segmentation. And it's very important to be ultra focused on the pricing. You will be first for your company. And if you have an investor, if you don't know how to do a pricing, or if you ask EIC accelerator and you don't calculate your pricing like that, you are dead. Because in front of you, you have entrepreneurs, so they will just... that is financial optimization, how to create money like Jesus with little bread, but we have no time. We have no time for that too. 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 Hop, end of the presentation. Parfait. Non, mais c'est bien, Billy.
Okay, thank you, Guilhem, for sharing your experience and condensing everything in this general advice. And do we have some questions from the audience here? Questions so far?
Was it so clear?
Maybe Anna? Yes, Anna? Sorry, I would get the microphone. No, so for the ones.
Yeah, I just was curious on a slide that you went over because of time about the CEO characteristics, I think. So what you can say about that?
This one.
Yeah, I think this slide was very interesting. So maybe you can say something about it.
Yes, I can do that. The most important thing is that the CEO is not necessarily the guys or the girls who got the idea, who wanted to create the company. First, the CEO should be this person where, when it is a store, when everything collapses, which always remain like a rock in the eyes of the other, because in fact, as a CEO, you collapse inside, but you don't show it. But this kind of person, meaning that most of the time, young startupper or old one choose CEO just because, he's a guy with the idea. And it's a wrong idea. First, it should be what we call the natural leader. I can speak hours around that, but like the person which is a rock. The person who is able to align interests with everybody, that everybody have different interests. And the CEO should always remember that his interest and the interest of Julia, of you are different. Try to understand them, try to align them always. So ideally, if it is charismatic people, it's better too, because when it's really hard, a little touch of charisma can help to pass the idea and put everybody in action. The thing also is the CEO is perishable, meaning I'm a good example of that, where when we are 5, 10, 15, 20, I think I'm a good CEO because I like to work with barbarian, like give everything. And when we need to get after management, layer, organization, process, that's the moment where I will become the worst CEO because I'm an entrepreneur, not a businessman. So sometimes you have a CEO which is good for the first years, the 2 first years, the 5 first years, and become a nightmare just after. So it's important that the CEO is aware that it's maybe a short-term contract. The company is not here for the CEO. The CEO is here for the company and can be changed. If possible, not too often, because but it's something to take into account that it's not honorary position. It's either you fill the function or either you get out. That you cannot mess with the wrong CEO. And I never met also a complete CEO. That all the time the costume is too big for a normal human being. That is why normally we have associate. An associate, normally, the most important is that the CEO knows his weakness, knows his strength. The same with the associate, that you share with them, meaning that you understand each other, that I will be excellent at that, excellent at that, and super bad at that. Like for me, process. It's terrible. So I have always, when I create a company, an associate who loves process. So, and we were saying most of the time that I'm a locomotive, for example, but I am complete. I don't put the rail in front. I have always an associate that put rail. Always an associate super scary that would slow down with to avoid that I crash the company by wanting to do too much things. That we are incomplete. All of them. I never met a CEO where I say, "Woo, there's everything in this girl or in this guy." Never. So you need to associate yourself and to be humble enough to say, I'm super bad at that. I need help on that. And you need to know that. Of course, as I said, the one who took the decision, and it's something important when I was speaking about the tsunami, is that on this moment, when you have a big wave which will either crush the company or because entrepreneurs normally surf wave, they don't take it on it. That's the difference. Taking a decision is hard. Meaning, you don't take decision because people will love you for this decision. You will take decision because it will help the company to stay alive or to succeed. When I say being able to take decision, behind there is to accept to not be loved by people. And when you see taking a decision like that, sometimes people say, "Oh no, be woo." I like to be. And ideally, the CEO, and something very important, that you will get a lot of tension in the company. Really, a lot of tension. It's hard starting a company. And then generally, when there is a lot of tension, on this moment, you need to get everybody stick together. Donc the CEO should be this person that even under extreme pressure, with his best friend eventually, on a maximum tension, will never lose his nerve. Always try to understand the other, to align the interest again under the pressure, and to let the tension go down. So, and it's very important if when it's full of tension, the CEO become mad, end of the story. So this kind of characteristic. Did I answer your question, or it was a question about everything? And I could speak during a long time about that because I have another slide about CEO, about small characteristics that we noticed, not only us, that a good CEO should get to maximum its chance of success. And by the way, if you are dyslexic in the Silicon Valley, you have something like 10 times more chance to be a good CEO. I don't know why, but there were investors doing statistics. And also, if you're doing a disc test, with the color, if you are with a majority of yellow and red, it will be a lot easier. And if in top of that, not me, I have not that, but if you are a sociopath, it's even easier because you will see as a CEO, you will fire a lot of people. Me, I personally hire and fire more than 120 people, and I do it personally. And I have not the chance to be a sociopath, so before I cannot sleep. When the people in front of me collapse, I internally collapse. And the day after, I cannot sleep neither, meaning that the operation of the company, each time there is a human problem, almost stop because the CEO emotionally collapsed. That is why, unfortunately, for example, being a sociopath helps to be a good CEO. That is why you get Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs. They do not suffer to say to someone, "Oh, you go out." I think You need to be a sociopath to do that. So, but I should not say that, but it's statistically true.
Thank you.
On that, I'm a bad CEO. Bad luck for me.
Thank you, Guilhem. More questions from the audience? No?
We cannot finish on
I have a
sociopathy.
curiosity, no, just because, I mean, these are like very general advice or like from your experience, the 10 companies that you've created, I imagine every time it's a journey that is very different. But I was wondering over the years or over the companies that you've created, is there like a more common path that you develop, or it's really so specific for each technology or each market fit that the strategy that you follow or the experience that you have that you cannot compare any? Or do you think there's like a little bit of convergence for you to how to address or how to navigate?
There is convergence. In fact, if you are more or less in the same field for scientific instrumentation, I think I increase at least 5 or 6. We use the same method and we get the same result. So there is optimization on that. But when we go to medical device, we have to reinvent half of the things. There are, of course, the slide on the new school method work, whatever the field, except biotech. Biotech drug development, it's not really entrepreneurship drug development. It's something very, except those companies which are really, really different. They work really differently. For all of them, all the things about the mindset and that make people succeed generally remain stable. The tactical element of how to succeed, or you will get the market ID, or you will the marketing tricks will depend on the field of application. So, but generally, anyway, the things the harder for the CEO on every company I create and for me is always human relation. That the thing that really is not the intensity of intellectual decision, is really to handle the difference between human and it's a discovery. Most of the time you say, wow. It's very hard. I think Julia will agree.
Thank you. Yes.
The human part is a harder part as a CEO, that it's dry out your energy if it don't go well.
I would like to know a bit in short, how to deal between the mismatch between the scientific mentality and way of behaving and the entrepreneur. So you say to publish something that does not exist. This goes against our ethical code. So our mentality is not like this. So I think this sometimes can be like a barrier, no, to move from. So
yes,
because it's like crashing with our way of behaving and.
That's a problem. We have been educated to not fake, because it's faking, and it's hard for everybody. Scientific, but in fact, sometimes I hear non-scientific is something hard for everybody. At the end, it's if you look at the society point of view, if you really look at it, you save time and money for the society. So hours of labor in the general society is positive to think like that. But it's hard to break the whole code. But it will be like, imagine you want to publish in Nature because you like to publish in Nature. To work during 3 years and try after to publish to Nature. Maybe, from a scientific point of view, what I will do is that I will try to find a way to meet people from Nature. After, to understand, okay, what makes for you a good article, on which field at this moment I should investigate, what are the parameters. So I will not do a web page, but I will try to go at the sources and to understand which parameter I should optimize to get a product market fit with Nature and publish in Nature. So will be the equivalent in science that you at least never use the same ways on the other. But yes, it's hard for scientific to say, I will put my ID and in fact lie, do not exist. But it's hard for everybody.